Hello and welcome to the Bucket List Gamers podcast. I am Jay and I am dying and I am joined by Eddie.
Hello, I'm not dying.
No, I am. I've been ill for a few days. My voice, as you can probably tell, has not quite recovered. So what better than to record 2 back-to-back podcast episodes as we're planning to do today. This one's a normal one. We'll be recording our Christmas special after this, a little bit early, but we've got something planned, haven't we? So it will all make sense by the time you hear that. We're going to speed run this because we want to get plenty of time to do both things. So we're looking at one game only. I'm going to start the 30-minute timer, and whenever it goes off, we are going to start wrapping up, essentially. Spoilers, we're not going to get 30 minutes out of the game itself, but we do have other stuff to talk about. But we are talking about Genshin Impact, which is number 65 in the arbitrary numbers list of the games that you must play, the best, the greatest, the most awesome, the bane of our life, the absolute hell that is this book that we are working our way through. It came out in 2020, and it came out for the PS4, PS5, PC, and mobile. As another side point, not only have I been incredibly ill, my headphones have broken as well. So I'm using some very low quality headphones that will probably cause nosebleed and all sorts. I know the audio quality is not always brilliant anyway, but prepare for it to be even worse today because I can't speak and my headphones aren't keeping any noise in. Got all the ingredients for a great Bucket List Gamers episode, this one, hasn't it?
Well, we're consummate professionals, and we will carry on regardless.
This is it. We don't record once a week anymore, and things have deteriorated since that happened. Which you'd think it'd be the other way around if we had more time, wouldn't you? But that's not the case. But yeah, Genshin Impact. I've got a little story about Genshin Impact. It won't take me long to tell it. But Eddie does have experience with it. But before we get into that, let me give you the little bit of information the book does provide for us. This anime-style fantasy RPG offers a huge open world to explore, with lots of mysteries to uncover and enemies to defeat. It's packed full of puzzles to solve as you go on an epic adventure to find your long-lost sibling, which we really loved. That's weird, because they've never really shown any emotion before in any of these. It's almost like they realised there was a bit of space there, and they had to put another sentence in, and they just couldn't think of anything else to put. So they loved it. I mean, yeah, of course they did. It's 65 in a book of games you meant to play before you die, essentially. So if they didn't love it, I'd question why it's in the book.
Yeah.
I mean, the pictures look terrible that they've chosen. I can't show them, obviously. One looks like a postage stamp. I don't know why they've put that border on it. Because they've not done that anywhere else in the book. And then the other one looks like it's from like a PS1, the quality of image they've decided to use to promote this game. And the bulk of the page isn't even gameplay footage. It's like the box cover. There you go. They didn't have much faith in it by the look of it, despite really loving it. So do you want a fun fact or do you want a did you know? And I haven't read either of these, so this is going to be news for both of us.
I will go with the did you know.
Don't worry, Nintendo fans. Genshin Impact will be making its way to the Switch in the future. So that's nice and ambiguous. I don't know if that's happened. I presume it has by this point.
I don't think it has. No, I think it's just PlayStation and Xbox and PC. So
the good old book. The good old book's nailed it again. Don't worry, Nintendo fans. I mean, I can't imagine many of them were clamouring for this anyway.
No, and I'll come to a reason why in a minute.
Although there are quite a lot of anime games on the eShop now, and some of them you wouldn't expect to see on a Nintendo console. Let's just put it like that. We'll keep it PG. But yeah, the standards. I mean, the standards of the eShop have always been a bit iffy, but they've really gone to the extremes recently. We don't think it's out on Switch. I mean, it'd be Switch 2 now.
I'm going to say, I don't think the Switch could handle it.
Well, who could? With these PS1 graphics that they're displayed in the book. So the fun fact. Genshin Impact was inspired by a mix of anime, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and different mythologies from around the world.
Yeah, and that's why Nintendo fans probably weren't worrying, because they had the game that it was based on that's actually a better template already available to them as an exclusive, so yeah.
Let me do my Genshin Impact story before you you start. I noticed it was on Game Pass, which will tie us nicely into something later on. So I thought I'll install it and I'll put effort in and I'll play this one, because there are some on the list where if one of us has played it, the other one doesn't bother, and we sort of take cues off each other because we don't have a lot of time, especially for big games like this. So I thought, no, I'm going to put the effort in, I'm going to install it, I'm going to play it. I started installing it when my internet was piss poor, and it's like 104 gig or something. And Xboxes, I didn't know this, Xboxes don't download while you're playing other games. So if you set a game downloading and then go and play something else, it stops the download. So the only time it was going to download is when I wasn't using my Xbox, and I turn it off. So it took forever to download it. And I was like, this isn't moving very fast, even on my internet. Now I know why. And also, I've also noticed, side note, if you let an Xbox have free will over your internet connection and you don't have a very good internet connection, it kills everything else on the network. It just takes all the bandwidth for itself to download the games. Literally, my other half was working the other day and I had a day off, and I told it to download a game, and she came in and was like, my internet stopped working, I can't get any work done. And I was like, I don't know what could have caused that. It definitely wasn't me downloading like a Terminator game or something. Don't come looking at me. But yeah, it took a while to install, let's put it that way. And then I got super fast internet. Don't know if I've mentioned that. And it finished, and I was like, I've got it installed. And I had a day off. I was going to sit and play something for our Game Over MND challenge. I thought this will be a good one to block a big lump of time in. And I was just starting it up, and I was messaging Aaron about something else. And I said, I'm going to play some games today. And he's like, what are you playing? And I was like, Genshin Impact. He's like, I didn't think you'd like an MMO. And I went, no, I don't. Uninstall. And I never actually got past the title screen because I didn't know it was an MMO. So yeah, I didn't play it in the end. I saw he informed me just before I made the mistake of pressing start, and I immediately uninstalled it and played about 6 hours of Fallout 4 instead, which arguably not much better probably, but at least it wasn't Fallout 76.
Yeah,
so
true.
There is that, which has apparently got better, but let's not get into those territories. Although I suppose it is similar to this game, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I will let you take the helm on this one because I think you've actually put time into it. Whether you enjoyed that time or not is another matter.
Yeah, so I didn't realise it was supposed to be an MMO either, but it does have single player and multiplayer aspects. So I think I must have booted it up in single player, because I never saw another human character in there. So I am just assuming that I'd booted it up in. It's been at least 2 years since I played Genshin Impact. The one thing I will say about it is it's very pretty. It doesn't look like a PS1 game. The cel shaded graphics are very nice. It is very, very reminiscent of Breath of the Wild. You can see a lot of the influence, like front and center in the screen. It's got the climbing mechanics and the exhaustion meter or the stamina meter as you're climbing stuff. There's certain things you can't climb because they're too sheer. But yeah, there's a lot of influence from Breath of the Wild in it. But that's not to say it's not a hastily shat out knockoff, which you can't do a hastily shat out knockoff for Zelda. It's huge, it's complicated, and this does have layers of complexity to it that I find really, really endearing. So the combat is a bit mobby, so you do tend to get mobbed by like groups of enemies, and they all have sort of elemental affinities to them. So they'll either be water-based enemies, wind-based enemies, fire-based enemies, the typical Pokemon earth, wind, water, fire, earth, that kind of stuff. But there's an interaction between the elements. So the character you use, and you can switch between sort of characters on the fly. I'll come back to how you unlock characters in a minute, but you can switch between certain characters that you've unlocked, and each one has an element that they are proficient with. So whether it's a dark elemental or a fire elemental, but you can use other elemental moves as part of that, and they each interact with each other, and it's really interesting. So if you use fire element and you're in grass, it creates like an updraft, which you can then use a wind element attack, and it boosts the fire. So
Okay.
it boosts the range and the duration that things burn for. You can use a water elemental and that you can inflict, so I think it's either wet or soak on an enemy, and you can then cast an ice element and it will freeze them.
Right. Okay.
So it's really clever the way you can do wet and then you can cast electric, and it will chain lightning between everything that's wet and if the floor's wet. It's a really, really clever and well done system. It's just a shame that the rest of the game is just a little bit bland. And that's probably because I did single player. It's probably much more fun if you've got a party and each one of you's got your favorite character and you've all got different elements and you can just charge into battles, and one of you stands at the back throwing out healing magic and the rest of you's like conjuring water and the other one's casting electricity and chaining lightning together and stuff like that. It probably is better than the experience I had with it, which isn't to say I didn't have fun with it and I didn't put a lot of hours into it. I must have done 40 hours easily before the scales fell and I just went, what am I doing? I'm playing a really shit version of Zelda. I'll go back to Zelda.
I was going to say, I'm assuming it is quite bare bones if you play it in single player, because a lot of the work will have gone into making it accessible for multiplayer. And like, not to go back to Fallout and the Elder Scrolls Online games, but I think especially when they came out, there wasn't an NPC in them. I don't think, was there? It was
No.
just real world players, and if you didn't encounter anyone, you literally just in a completely barren world, not with nothing to do. So I'm assuming the single player, maybe not to that extent, is the same. And yeah, I expect playing it as an MMO as it was intended to be is probably the best way to do it. I don't know if you can get into battles with other real people or whether you're all just cohabiting in the same world and going about your business, because like you say, you really want to just party up with people you know, don't you, and go and do stuff like that. Well, me personally, I don't find a lot of entertainment in joining a bunch of random people just to get objectives done and stuff. If it was a group of people I knew, yeah, maybe. So maybe with it being on Game Pass, I reinstall that 140 gig or whatever it was, and we give it a go in multiplayer and come back to it and address it again a little bit later to see if our opinions change. It'd be the first MMO I enjoyed if it did happen. So I'm not holding out much hope. It's just not my type of game, really. I like something more structured, which I know sounds crazy from someone who likes roguelikes and roguelites a lot. But even those, I feel like they have an end goal and a starting point, and the middle bit is the stuff that's all shuffled around, but actually you still have a progression. Whereas a lot of them, and I think Genshin Impact probably does have that to an extent, but that's why like Elder Scrolls Online and Warcraft and all stuff like that, I know it has these sort of end points and like Destiny and games like that, they do have these endpoints, but they almost feel like they've gone, right, we've built this epic game to play online with other people. Oh, we need a goal. Here you go, bang. And it doesn't really mean anything. Whereas a lot of other games, you get that Expedition 33, for example, you get that crafted
Yeah.
experience and you get the story beats when you're meant to get them, and it immerses you fully. And I don't feel with many MMOs you get that. You just, it's there because it sort of needs to be there. Minecraft's another brilliant example. The game of Minecraft for a long time didn't have an end goal, did it? It was just a sandbox. You go in, you have fun, you play the game, there's a bit of combat, you can build these marvelous structures. And then I think they sort of realize, well, we need something for people to work towards. Yeah, it's fine building a lovely village and stuff, but what is that end point? And then
Yeah.
you got the Ender Dragon, and then they put in the Wither, and then they kept doing more and more and more and more just to give people something to strive to. And that's, I think, what keeps games with longevity. You either make a really solid, tight, single shot run that takes 8 to 12 hours, and then people never play it again, but they absolutely adore it, or you make an open-ended game but you keep putting things in for people to do and finish that have meaning and have purpose. And a lot of MMOs I feel like don't do that, like Destiny and stuff like that. Just felt like, and I've come back to it again, it just feels like it was a grind in the end. It's like, oh, just keep grinding, keep putting money into it, keep grinding. We're just going to keep releasing stuff that doesn't really matter, but you sort of might want it, so keep putting the effort and the money in.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like Genshin Impact falls into that latter camp. It does have a story. It's very Studio Ghibli meets, for God's sake, Wind Waker.
Hmm.
So you're going after your sibling who has been captured by a dragon. So it's a bit like the beginning of Wind Waker, but
Yeah.
then you've got the Studio Ghibli slightly quirky characters, the sort of strange fantasy land that you do look at some things that they put into it and go, why have you included that? Like the little help support character, which is a bit like Navi from Ocarina, but is a full grown person that you just pull out of your arse every now and again. And it's like this little kid that's quite high pitched, and the usual cutesy kawaii Japanese kid character that is just a constant source of, hey, have you seen this? Oh, hey, have you looked over there? Hey, let's go see that cool looking character over there. Isn't this world amazing, guys? That kind of crap. But there's also a bit of an influence of Immortals Fenyx Rising. So again, that was released after Breath of the Wild and took very heavy inspiration from it. But you had a glide ability with a pair of wings, and they include wings in Genshin Impact as your main method of getting down from a high place. But the problem I have with it is that, and again, it may just be my single player review, it gets so grindy. You need to be a certain level, and you need to be a certain, I think it's something like world level. So your level increases, but you need to do
Hmm.
certain tasks in the world, like unlock X amount of fast travel statues, or defeat X number of water enemies, or defeat this boss and then do all these other subsequent things. It's a bit Pokemon Go with regards to that. So when you level up in Pokemon Go, you get like, you can level up in terms of XP, but then you've got a load of other shit that you need to do to get to that next level. And it's a bit like that. So you've got your
Yeah.
standard level, and then you need to upgrade your world level in order to unlock other missions. You can get to a certain level, and then the rest of the world's just locked. You can't do certain quests. You can't get into certain areas. So there's a frost area, and you need like warm clothing, a bit like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But you can't unlock warm clothing until you hit a certain world level and buy it from a merchant. And it just feels, at this point, it's just grinding to a halt. And then with regards to characters, so you get given one basic character, so you can unlock things called primo gems, which are in-world currency, basically, that you can invest real-world money on
Oh, there's a
to.
surprise.
Yeah, and then you can either select sort of upgrade materials and stuff like that to spend the primo gems on. But the main one is a gacha machine for new characters.
Oh, so it's just random as to whether you get. They don't unlock
Random
via the
character, and
storyline.
they release, some of them get released as part of the story, but I think there's 4 that get and it's one for each of the main elements that gets released, and they have released hundreds of packs of character models. And if you look at one and go, that character looks fucking amazing, and they'll each come with a unique weapon, a unique skill, a unique ranged attack, that sort of thing. If you look at it and go, that looks fucking amazing, you then have to gamble that you are going to get them as part of this gacha experience. And you do your daily login thing, where if you log in every day, you get certain gems. And then at the end of the week, if you've logged in 7 days in a row, you get another type of gem. And there's about 4 different currencies, I think, if I remember correctly, that you're just putting into different things. And of course, the one thing that you want, you've never got enough resources for, so you've just got to wait or invest money in it. And at that point, I think I did 3 character unlocks because I got bonus sort of primo gems for being a new player, doing my first week, doing 20 hours worth of play, that sort of thing. Invested a load, looked at the characters and went, well, I'm not interested in playing as any of them. And now my world level is maxed out. I'm too low a level to defeat the bosses that it wants me to defeat. So I cut, other than sitting here grinding enemies again and again and again, I can't see a way that this is going to be fun.
See, I feel like the daily login thing is fine on a mobile because you
Yeah.
tap a little app, it opens, you've done it. putting that on a console game where you have to
Yeah.
make the effort to turn the console on, load the game up with the intention of presumably sitting and playing it for a while, it's too much, and it's obviously done to try and rinse money out of people because they go, oh, I can't be bothered to log in 7 days in a row. I'm just going to buy whatever the resources that I need. And to your point about unlocking things out of gacha machines, how can you have a crafted story or include those characters in the story when you don't know what characters the people are going to own? So you can't name reference any in the dialogues or anything like that that's audio recorded, at least. That's the kind of thing that I just don't like. I want it to be, you've got X character, like in Final Fantasy VII or whatever. You've got these 4 characters in your party at this point. You've got to have, which means we can do a cutscene specifically about these 4 characters and how they interact and how they build these relationships. Whereas in this, you'd have 4 completely random characters depending on what somebody's unlocked and what whim they have for that moment. So how can you possibly have interactions unless you've written interactions between every character in the game, which you're never going to have? You just can't build that same immersion, and that's what I just don't like about these kinds of things.
I think if memory serves correctly, so I did a load of story beats, and your default character is the one that appears in cutscenes. Because obviously the
Right.
story is about him going to find his sibling that's been captured by the dragon, sort of thing. And all the ancillary NPCs are sort of name dropped and referenced or appear in those cutscenes when it's their turn to sort of be the part of someone else's character development, namely your main character, and that's it. But the rest of your team that you could have switched into at that point don't partake in any of the cutscenes. They just sort of disappear back inside you again, and you become the main character again.
So they could essentially be weapons. They don't even need to be
Yeah.
characters. There's no
Yes.
character like building or interaction or anything to them. They may as well be 4 different types of sword that are elemental, and you can switch between
Yeah.
them as opposed to characters. Yeah, I don't like that. It's funny you've just mentioned Immortals Fenyx Rising, because that is also in the book. So
Oh.
what I'm going to suggest we do is, because it ties in nicely, apparently, I didn't know this, I'm going to add another 10 minutes onto the timer, and we will also talk about that one and get that covered off as well. So before we do, Genshin Impact, I can't really give it a score because I haven't played it. It wouldn't be fair, but I know it doesn't look like my kind of game. If I was rating it purely off what you've told me and what I've read in the book and what I've seen, I'd be putting it in C, probably, because it looks nice, aside from the PS1 graphics picture these guys have chosen to advertise it. I think it does look really nice. I can see why there is appeal, and I can also appreciate that this was done for people who don't have a Switch that want to play something that's a bit like Breath of the Wild, so I can appreciate that as well. But I will defer to you on the scoring of this one.
I mean, it sounds completely disingenuous for me to say, despite the fact that I put 40 hours into it, I don't particularly rate the game. I know people do. I know people who are sinking and have sunk hundreds of pounds into this because the micro payments aren't particularly cheap. I think they start at £5, and then you're getting up, and you do get up to like £200 for a in-game transaction to get these primo gems that grant you wishes. Apparently there is a pity system as well, so if you pull shit for 7, I think it is, so if you do it 7 times and you just pull crap, because this is the other thing, you get weapons out of it as well, so it's a bit
Okay.
Diablo-esque, so you can be given utter bollocks, a load of crafting material and a weapon that your main character or your choice of characters may not be able to use. After 7 shit tries, you get a pity system where it will give you a new character that you haven't unlocked before that is quite a high tier and
Right.
is, like potentially one of the newer ones, or a really good weapon that you may not be able to equip because you're not the right level. So,
Oh.
so
If only
yeah.
Pokemon employed such tactics in their trading card packs, we'd be a lot richer than we are now.
So yeah, I can't convincingly give it a good score. I know, like I say, I have sunk hours into this game, but it's just I can't. If I give it a good grade, I'm endorsing it
To be
And,
honest, the
and I'm
whole
not.
microtransaction side of it is making me want to lower it. If anything, I really hate that kind of thing. It's what I hate about FIFA. I'm a huge FIFA player. I've loved FIFA for years. I hate the microtransaction side of it. I don't buy into it. I get the free points at the start of the year for buying the version that gets me early, which I'm already begrudged to do. But I want to play it as soon as it comes out, so I rationalize with myself that that's the reason I'm buying the upgraded version, not for the money and stuff that you get for Ultimate Team. But I get those points, and they are the only ones I will spend the whole way through the year. I don't do microtransactions on that game. This feels like, unless you do, you're going to be stuck in a grind that will eventually stop you wanting to play it. And I feel like it should be marked down for that. So, having never even played it, I'm lowering my mark to a D now.
In that case, I will agree with you on it. I think it's not a particularly good way for games to have gone, really. I think it's probably the worst aspects of a lot of games in that it's a rip-off of something that was already popular, and it's just littered with microtransactions that just harpoon whales, basically, that constantly pay out.
It could be good without having to have the microtransactions in it. You're already I don't know what that game costs, but there is a base cost to buying the game in the first place. It's not like it's a free mobile game that you can then just put the microtransactions into, is it?
I thought it was free.
Oh, is it a free game?
I
Oh, well,
think the base game is completely free.
let me have a look. Because I just saw it on, it had the Game Pass logo on it. So I just assumed there must have been a cost associated with it if you
But
didn't
is it
have
Game
Game
Pass
Pass.
that you can play it through Game Pass, as in
Um,
online play?
oh, I don't know now. Maybe. Yeah, I mean it is free on PC, so I can't see why they charge for it. Okay, then I retract my previous statement. They have to put these in to make money out of it, I assume.
Yeah, because there's no physical version that you can buy. So I am fairly confident because I wouldn't have paid for it and I didn't get it on PS Plus. So I am fairly confident it's free.
According to Microsoft's website, though, you have to have Game Pass.
That's why.
So even if you want to do the single player, where you're not actually interacting with anyone online, you still have to have Game Pass.
Yeah,
So that's where
and
I've seen that.
you have to have PS Plus
Right.
for
So
Genshin Impact as well. Sorry,
so
the
there is
PS4 version.
there is a cost associated to playing it, even though there isn't a cost associated to buying it. You still have to have an online service to play it, even in single player mode. So I'm only half letting them off there. But yeah, fair enough. They need the microtransactions to account for that, but I still think they could have made it less grindy based on what
Yeah,
you've just said and a couple of the articles that I've read of people that have said why they've stopped playing it that I was just skimming through earlier on. I think they could have made it more accessible, and they've obviously put that grind in there to make people want to pay for it. And I feel like if you've got an addictive personality, you'll get hooked into it and want to do that. So it does make sense. I think D's where it belongs, just because
yeah,
it's not. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a scummy practice, but it's less than. It's not immoral, but it's getting close the way that they've set it all up. And as you say, to be ripping off another IP essentially in the first place to do that, I don't know.
yeah,
I would have preferred it if they just charged 30 quid for the game and took all the microtransactions out of it.
yeah.
Would have been a nicer way to do it. But anyway, moving swiftly on, or not so swiftly, I suppose. We are going to look at Immortals Fenyx Rising very quickly. Playing as a Phoenix, a new wing. I assume it's Phoenix, or is it Phoenix?
I think it is supposed to be FEE-nix. I think they've just tried to be clever with the way they've written it, and it fucking rubs me up the wrong way anyway. But
I'm
yes,
sticking with Phoenix. I'm going with Phoenix. That's if you're writing it like that, I'm saying it like that. Playing as a Phoenix, a new winged demigod, the fate of the world is in your hands. The gods are counting on you to save their home from a dark curse. You'll slay many enemies and complete heroic trials on your quest to defeat Typhon, the deadliest titan in Greek mythology. Is that a real Greek god?
yeah.
No? Okay, so they've gone. Is he a big cyclops, or have they just used a different picture to
Um,
demonstrate that?
no, that's a different picture. That's one of the sub bosses. It's an
Yeah.
initial. It's one of those where it's a boss first time you fight it, but then as you get through the game, they're just littered everywhere.
So would you like a. Oh, sorry, it came out in 2020. I'll do this first. PS4, PS5, Switch, PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. So the full gambit, pretty much, at the time it came out. Did come out on Switch, despite being, as you mentioned earlier on, a bit of a Breath of the Wild clone.
Yeah.
Would you like the fun fact, or would you like the did you know?
I will go with the fun fact first.
Prometheus, one of the Titans, expert trickster and god of fire, narrates the game.
He does.
I mean, anyone who's played it, I assume, would know that immediately. And anyone who hasn't probably won't care. So, bit of an odd fun fact, but there you go. And did you know, if you're falling from a great height, you can deploy your wings to avoid fall damage? Well, you did know that because you mentioned it not 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. I mean, the
You're scraping the barrel of things to mention about the game if the fact that you can use your wings to not take fall damage is one of the highlights.
yeah.
Again, not a game I've played, so I'm going to have to defer to you on this one. It looks alright, I will say that. I did the screenshots and stuff. It looks like if I'd seen that come up on Game Pass or something, I probably would have installed it and given it a go. It looks decent.
And it is. It's a Ubisoft game. It's an open world Ubisoft game that's based on Breath of the Wild, which is really weird because Breath of the Wild nicked off Ubisoft with the towers that you had to scan to unlock bits of the visibility of the map. And they've done exactly the same thing in this, but that's a Ubisoft trope anyway, where you climb like a radio mast or something to unlock like all the little hidden icons on the map sort of thing. So, I mean, I don't know why they thought it was interesting that Prometheus being like the person that narrates it, seeing as I think his are the first words spoken in the game.
Yeah, you've not got far into it if you don't know that.
Yeah, I think you might have booted it, got to the start screen and went, this isn't for me, and just turned it off.
Oh, the Genshin Impact experience, as I call it.
The narration over the top of it is between Prometheus and Zeus.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the game, it fades in on Prometheus, who has been tied to the top of a mountain, and every day has an eagle come and pecks his liver out as punishment for giving fire to man, which is part of the mythology of the Greeks. And Zeus visits him, as he does occasionally, just to take the piss, mostly because Zeus was, and I'm not being harsh with this, a massive wanker. When it comes to Greek mythology, he was a complete prick. So he's visited Prometheus, and Prometheus decides to tell him a story, and the story is of this.
Okay.
Of this story. So, and there's nice little bits through it where Prometheus is telling the origin stories of certain gods. So like Aphrodite and how she came into being, sort of thing. And then Zeus will chip in over the top of him and start correcting him on stuff, and Prometheus will like back chat with him. So all the while you've got this sort of banter going on between these two gods while you're just sort of stood there with a sword going, can I just go and kill the things now?
To be honest, this sounds quite good. I might have to actually check this out because it sounds a bit like a fun version of Assassin's Creed.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not an Assassin's Creed fan at all. I've tried with those games. I've tried so much with them. And the only one I've ever got any enjoyment out of was Black Flag. And it wasn't a lot of enjoyment, but it was more than I got out of the other ones. And I own about 6 of them. And I've never enjoyed, and I'm a glutton for punishment. I keep going back, going, this one will be the one where I actually really enjoy it. And then I'd hit Black Flag, and I thought, actually, no, that wasn't terrible. And then I can't remember what the one after that was. It the Egyptian one or something?
Yeah, Origins.
I got it free with the console, and I played it for about 10 minutes. I was like, oh, back to being shit again. Not my cup of tea. So this sounds like it's taken that a little bit and made it more interesting for me at the very least. So I might have to check this one out. I think it caught my eye with the picture anyway, much more than Genshin Impact did. I mean, the anime style is not for everyone. It's not massively for me. There's certain things I enjoy it in, like Ghibli and stuff you mentioned earlier on, but I feel like that's so stylized compared to bog standard anime, as you'd call it, that I think that's why, like the Pokemon stuff, I can watch because I like Pokemon, not because it's that art style. We've had friends, we share a mutual friend who absolutely loved anime, and he tried to make me watch some of it once, and I didn't know what was happening because it didn't make any sense for a start. But it's just not an art style that I gravitate towards there has to be more substance behind it. Whereas looking at the picture of this looked great. I look at this and go, actually, this looks really fun. And then your description of it, where they're sort of bantering to tell the story, and I love that kind of thing as well. So I think for me, this is going to be one I check out, and I will probably come back and give my verdict if I can manage to get a copy of it and find time to play it. But again, I will defer to you. So we've got a minute left before the timer goes off. So I'm going to stop the timer so it doesn't interrupt you. And I will let you give the final say on FEE-nix, FEN-iks, whatever you would like to call it.
I would say it's a solid B, really. It, like I say, it's a traditional Ubisoft game, and none of them are terrible by and large. They're not like, oh my god, this is utter dross. 9 times out of 10, they're just more of the same old shit. And this is more of the same old shit, but with a Greek mythology and slightly cell shady-esque graphics slapped over the top of it. The Greek mythology thing, if you're into that, is really good. If you're not into that and you've never really learned much Greek mythology, it's quite good because it's fairly accurate.
Yeah.
So the mythology reveals and stuff like that all the way through it are pretty bang on. The combat is the only thing that I would say lets it down a little bit. You get light attacks for the lady, heavy attacks for the gentleman, and your stamina runs down as you attack, so you need to sort of balance it off against dodging and stuff like that. So it's a slight bit soulsy, but very, very forgiving. And then you get special abilities based on the gods. So like you get Ares' Wrath, which is a shield with a load of spears that come out of it. But yeah, it's a solid game and definitely worth a look if it's cheap or free.
Yeah, I'm sort of a little bit excited to play it after hearing you talk about it, which doesn't happen with many of the games on this list anymore. I've either played them or I haven't played them and I don't have much interest in. But this one actually is tempting me in, so I'm going to have to try and find this. I think it's probably the connection to Hades and Hades 2 that I've been playing loads at the minute, and I just want a bit more of that.
Yeah.
That sort of storyline and stuff, but in a different way. So that's probably what is pushing me towards it. But I will check it out and I will give my verdict. So there's 2 more out of the book for you. I don't know how many we've got left. It seems like millions. There's only 100 in the book, and it seems like there's more than 100 left. But we are plodding on with it regardless. We will get to the end of it eventually and then move on to Nintendo or PlayStation book. I don't know which one. I mean, by this point, they're both going to be massively out of date. But there's lots of ones in the PlayStation one in particular that we've never covered. So there is still meat on that bone for us to keep doing these without having to come up with our own concepts for ideas and episodes. So yeah, we will keep going. The other thing we were going to talk about, but we've pretty much run out of time, is how over Game Pass has been, which I think we have mentioned very briefly in other episodes. But yeah, 22 quid a month now, is it? For what you used to get for 15? Or if you were clever, what you used to get for pennies in terms of doing the thing where you got 3 years for about 60 quid or whatever it was back in the day.
Yeah, and isn't it tiered now as well? Like I think they've taken a look at PlayStation's PS Plus model
I
and
think
went,
it was always tiered. So you always had ultimate, regular, and then gold, or whatever the equivalent of what gold used to be was. And you get diminishing returns the further down the scale you slide. I mean, gold used to just be 1 free game a month, didn't it?
Yeah.
Or a couple of free games a month. And then the middle one was like, oh, you get all these games, but you don't get the brand new releases. And I think it's still similar to that. You can play online, but you get pretty much sod all. You get access to all these cool things, but you're not going to get day one exclusives like Outer Worlds 2 and all stuff like that. And then you've got Ultimate, which gives you that, and I think it gives you the PC pass as well, so you can play games on your PC. So it's always been tiered, but I think they've probably readjusted what's in those tiers a bit more to make the top end a bit heavier. And then gone, right, because we've done that and we're giving you all this amazing stuff that you got anyway last week, we're going to stick another 7 quid onto the cost of it or whatever it was. And I bought a couple of 6-month passes just to load mine up for a bit because they didn't seem to have had the price jump. They weren't as cheap as they used to be, but they certainly weren't $22.99 a month, because I was at the point where mine expired and I cancelled the roll-in renewal hoping they give me an offer, which was the biggest mistake because anyone who's on roll-in renewal still gets it for $15.99. It's only new users that pay $22.99. So if I'd have left mine rolling renewal, I would still have been paying $15.99, which is a bit of a kick in the teeth. Although the vouchers that I bought turned out to make it about, I think, 10, 11 quid a month. So they're still better. But it's just a hassle, isn't it, of having to go and find them and enter them in and stuff. So, yeah, it's not great. I think they will go back on it because I think they will have lost loads of people from this price. It's a lot of money in this day. The way the world is at the minute, $22.99 a month is a lot on a luxury, especially when most people that are in that boat will also be paying 15 quid for Spotify, 10 or 12 quid for Netflix, some sort of TV subscription, I presume. I mean, I was looking at what I'm spending the other day, and it's getting out of hand, if I'm honest, because we've got Sky, we've got Netflix, we've got Spotify. I pay for YouTube Premium because I used to get it cheap and I don't now, and I couldn't be without it. So I pay for YouTube Premium, which is like 11 quid a month. I've got a Google One subscription for 2 terabytes of data that's like 10 quid a month. A Shudder subscription, which I don't know why I've still got because I've watched everything on there and none of it was worth watching in the first place, but that's a £5 a month coming out. And I really do need to take, I mean, if any of those things where they take control of your subscriptions and tell you what to pay off want to sponsor us, please do, because I'm at the point now where I need one of those. But yeah, I think when you're in that environment, 15 quid was already a lot. And to then bump it up to this, I mean, PlayStation's like a tenner for the top tier, isn't it? Or the second, I think the top tier is a bit. I'm on the one below that's a tenner a month, and it has most of the stuff I want.
Yeah.
But even the top one, like you say, 13, it's not out of the way really. $22.99, and yes, you get the PC stuff, and yes, you get XYZ. But how many people are getting the full benefit out of it?
Yeah.
I don't use the PC one very much because I've got most of my games on Steam. I know you don't because your laptop would probably melt if you tried to use the PC version. So how many people are actually getting the use of all these benefits that they've lumped in with it? And I think they know this. I think they know that we're giving you, I don't know, 20 different perks, but most of you are only going to use like the 3 or 4 that you use most of the time.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to think about as well is if you've got a PC and you're a PC gamer, your games are already dirt cheap anyway after the first couple of months they're released in, or they're in like a bundle that they release by the end of the year. So what is still a £63 console game at the end of the year or 2 years after it's been released is $4.99 in a Steam sale, and you're just like, why am I paying for the Xbox Game Pass to have this PC bonus when it's already cheap anyway? So I'm better off just buying the games rather than having all this additional stuff that I'm not interested in and potentially won't play anyway.
Some of the day one things are cool. Having Outer Worlds 2 day one to play, having the space Skyrim, I can't remember the name of it now. Starfield was having that day one was cool because I would have spent 60 quid on that and then I didn't, and I played it for a few days and went, I'm glad I didn't spend 60 quid on that. So that's 3 months of Game Pass there that I saved by not buying that game and finding out I didn't like it. So I suppose it does balance out to an extent, but 60 quid just sounds way too much for me. It's just too much. 22 quid a month for what you get. It's probably fair enough for what you get. It's just too much. And when you're looking at things to knock off of your spend, if you're a little bit tight for money, I feel like that is now at the top end of it. Whereas before, there were probably other things that people would get rid of ahead of getting rid of that. But now you're looking at $22.99, people will probably be going, well, if I get rid of that, I don't have to get rid of Netflix and Spotify because they combine. So, yeah, I think they've potentially shot themselves in the foot a little bit with it. But time will tell. It'd be 35 quid next month and we'll have shown what we know. But yeah, that is my thoughts on it. We are completely out of time now. We need to go and potentially record a Christmas episode, or we might have to postpone that because we've talked far too much about FENIX Rising and God knows what else. But there is just enough time for me to say thank you to our lovely Patreons for supporting us as always. So in the couple of coins tier, we have got Harry Flynn. In the Bucket Kicker tier, we've got Doches, we've got the Doctor 1812, ZomBev, and Ric Flair. And in the Avatarnish tier, we've got Aaron, and we've got, as always, the Sweaty Llama. So thank you to you guys for keeping us going. that has been our potentially penultimate episode before Christmas. We may sneak another one in, depending on how much time we've got. But we're playing so many games for the Game Over MND thing. I've not had time to edit, and we haven't really had time to record. And now the Christmas period's here, and we're all doing loads of stuff. So we might not get another one out before Christmas, but look forward to the Christmas one. It's going to be a decent one. We've got one coming up on Patreon very soon, where we did a questions and answer session, which I'm part way through editing. But as I said, aforementioned charity thing has stopped me from getting that out. We're still churning out videos on YouTube. Aaron's still streaming. I mean, I don't even want to say just Sundays and Thursdays now, because we've streamed almost every day over the course of the last couple of weeks for the charity thing. That will die down a little bit, but he is doing some other stuff. He's doing a Planet Zoo chilled out build whenever he gets chance, so they just pop up. So make sure you're following us on Twitch or one of our socials to find out when he's doing those. I've been streaming a lot more. I started doing Prehistoric Kingdom and I got really obsessed with it, even though I'm terrible at it. So I've been doing streams of that. So you can find us all over the place. And as I said, there's loads of YouTube stuff, pack rips, all that kind of thing coming. But until the next time, I'll say that is goodbye from me.
And that's goodbye from me.